this might be a tough decision right now.
My team did absolutely
NFL games that were like, whoa.
I actually don't
Had
understand.
a lot of mixed feelings. Welcome, Disgruntled. We have another guest here on the League of the Wings.
The most ready man in the world.
Hey guys, this is League of the Wings, Season 3, Episode 123, I think. But we missed a week, and which is the first time that we've missed a week while recording or during the football season. Because I missed a week before the NFL season started, before we started talking about football. But today is going to be a little bit of different kind of style because, one, we're going to be going over some predictions that we made at the beginning of the season. And it's going to be a little bit shorter too because we are going to be filming another podcast episode this week as well, going over the playoffs since we missed last week's. And we're going to be uploading 2 episodes this week. So they're going to be more condensed comparatively to our almost 2-hour average podcast length that we've been doing the past 3 months, and which is crazy because we have never done that before. Our average has always been like around an hour to an hour and 10 minutes. But that was a long rant that was probably not needed, and which is going to increase the length of this film or podcast. I mean, we were just on a film set, in which that's why we were not able to film last week. We were on a 5-day shoot called Simmer, in which we are doing for a thesis film for Joshua Afriye. But enough rambling on and enough about my personal life. How are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
You want to ask me?
Yeah.
I'm doing great. Doing just fine.
How have you been? How's your week? Are you ready to talk some sports?
Sure. The week was fine. I'm ready to talk about sports. I think that there's not much to say about week 18 because a lot of these matches were kind of very straightforward and kind of what you expect, honestly. A lot of these teams just started tanking. Last second chance to take their stock to the next level for the draft. And one of those teams was the Colts, who lost to the Texans. The Texans actually giving up their first overall pick because the coach knew he was probably going to get fired, probably didn't deserve it because, you know, he was brought in to the worst organization in the league, but it happens. And now the Bears, who I think have like a really solid foundation overall, they have the number 1 pick, and they'll probably like target a defensive player, and they're going to be a fun team to watch in the future.
Imagine if they still had Roquan Smith on their defense. I forget the exact reason, but I still don't understand why they traded him away, because if they still had that piece on that defensive side of the football, then I feel like that defense would be scary, and then like 2 or 3 years from now, it would be even more scarier. But now they have to like sign another linebacker to replace that kind of all-pro type level of skill based.
Yeah, you can't convince all the players to stick around for a rebuild. His contract was due, so might as well get the capital.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
That happens a lot, I feel like, towards the deadline. On the Ravens nearly had a shot. I think they actually had a really good defensive game against the Bengals, kind of jumping ahead of the Wildcard week. But ultimately, they had a really tough goal line. It was a QB sneak, literally. Fumbled, got returned for a touchdown. Crazy shit. I mean, that's a 14-point play if you look at it like as a differential understanding of the points and the scoring. That's fucking crazy to me.
That is
just like how one play can change everything. One play that is just supposed to be like very straightforward and simple. Just go through your line.
Yes, I agree. And yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit later. But yeah, I made that 3-peat possible. I won back-to-back predictions in the regular season.
Yes.
And I predicted the Houston Texans to win and Miami Dolphins to win, in which they both won. And then Denver actually won, in which was good for you because that was the other dispute that we had, in which was at the beginning of that week, Titus picked 3 50-50 odds, according to Las Vegas, that would be like automatic dispute since he was behind by 3. Yeah, there's not much like Titus said earlier, there's not that many games to like go over from week 18 because I feel like there's not many playoff implications coming into this, or not many like games that had playoff implications to like an extreme extent. One of the bigger games though was Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Tennessee Titans, in which the I can't speak today. Ooh. I was like fucking, my brain was like going in slow motion. But okay. The Jacksonville Jaguars did beat the Tennessee Titans. For the Tennessee Titans, I forget what losing streak that they were on. They were what, 7-4?
It was crazy. It was like, I think it was a 7. It ended in a 7-game loss streak,
which is crazy. And then the Jaguars are now in the playoffs and advancing in the playoffs, in which we will talk about next episode. And then they went in from a 20-16-point game. And yeah, it's just crazy how the Tennessee Titans like season kind of flip-flopped completely, because they started 7-4 and looked like in a shoe-in to get into the playoffs. But Jacksonville Jaguars went on a tear. Dougie P is incredible what he's doing in Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Jaguars needed to do what they needed to do to win.
Amen.
Yes.
Another game that had playoff imps, as we call them here, was, where is it? I'm trying to find it. Yes, the Seahawks against the Rams, that came down to a field goal, knocking the Lions out of playoff contention. But did the Lions back down against their divisional rival? No, they did not. They end the season 9-8, same as the Seahawks, both 9-8, but they lost a tiebreaker there. So the Seahawks are the wild card seed. And Green Bay ended with an 8-9 record, a losing record, whereas the past 2 or 3 seasons, it was like at least 13 wins each season. Pretty crazy. Aaron Rodgers' time in Green Bay looks like done. Honestly, Jameson Williams went up to him after the game and asked for his jersey, and Aaron Rodgers said, I think I'm going to hold on to this one. And there was just like a extended coverage as he was like walking off the field, and he seemed pretty disgruntled when cameras were getting into his face when he went into the tunnel. And his teammate, I think it was Randall Cobb, was with him like the whole time. Because it doesn't, I mean, I would doubt Randall Cobb returns if Aaron Rodgers returns. Even if Aaron Rodgers returns, Randall Cobb might be done. He's an old receiver too. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know.
Do you think he's going to retire or go to a different team, Aaron Rodgers?
Probably a different team. He's in it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
He got his contract extension, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, with all that money, you might as well just like go wherever at this point. I think any team would be willing to pay it. I think New York Jets are looking to get a quarterback in free agency rather than the draft. And I think they should, honestly. I think they would be a great team with Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or... there's a lot of options, honestly. Like, whatever the 49ers end up doing, there's at least one of those quarterbacks between Jimmy G, Trey Lance, and Brock Purdy is not going to be in the 49ers anymore. So, I think there's a lot of options this free agency, as it has been like past couple of free agencies, I feel like. We will just have to wait and see. It's not really time to get into all that yet. That's for another episode. Yeah, other than those games that were very, like, as low scoring as they were exciting, between the Seahawks win and Detroit Lions win. There's not really any other games that I think are like very interesting to me.
I just want to say quickly about the Lions game too, about Williams, the ex-Packer running back, and now currently a current running back for the Lions, in which Williams won my fantasy football, in which I did end up winning the championship. And in our fantasy league, Williams had 2 touchdowns, and everyone's been kind of like memeing on his like intro. You know how like they say the names on like at the beginning of like a Sunday night football game or a Thursday night football game or a Monday night football game. It's like prime time games, and he referenced Naruto when he said his name, which was really cool to see. And he had a very emotional ending when an interviewer asked him about breaking Barry Sanders' record, all-time record for the Lions, or I guess all-time franchise record he broke, and the previous record setter was Barry Sanders, and he had just like an emotional interview which was really cool to see. And he thanked his grandpa, and like that's really cool to see. Yeah, I just wanted to say that because he was a big reason why I won, or I had so success in my fantasy league too. And I think I definitely want to draft him for next year. But
Yeah.
that's just like a few like little storylines that stood out during that Lions game. Philadelphia Eagles secured the number 1 seed, clinched the number 1 seed against the Giants, in which it was all due to Jake Elliott, in which he had 5 field goals. He scored 16 points for the Eagles. Yeah, he scored 16 points for the Eagles, 5 field goals and an extra point, in which he had a crazy game. And that's why I love having Jake Elliott as a kicker, because he's always so reliable. I think 2 of those kicks came from 50. And I'm not too concerned about how we played against the Giants, because we kind of were relaxed during that game, I feel, because like I feel like we were kind of playing half-assed. I feel like we were just trying to get the win and to get that number 1 seed, and the Giants didn't have Daniel Jones playing. They had Joe Webb playing, and Saquon was also not playing. I think they had a couple defensive players also not playing, so that they didn't get hurt, because they already secured a playoff win or a playoff game in which they could, if they won, they wouldn't gain anything, and if they lost, they wouldn't lose anything. They like secured that, I think, 5th spot in the NFC. And yeah, so they just sat a couple of their crucial players, and the Eagles were still playing for that 1st seed. And I'm happy that they started Jalen Hurts, because that gave him some game time before that bye, so that he didn't have like almost a month off. And he played the entire game, and I think that's really crucial. And I think Lane Johnson's coming back next week, I believe, which is really good. My only concern for the Eagles going into the playoffs and playing next week is those injuries that are plaguing the Eagles, in which I'm not so confident about. But I think hopefully that this bye gives them enough rest so that they can play full force and playing through the entirety of the game. Also, the entirety of the Giants also gave them enough game play so that they're not like fully like resting for like two solid weeks. And then Mike Tomlin, he continues his streak of winning seasons. He still has not had a losing season in his entire professional career.
That's right. Are there any other games you want to talk about? Because, I mean, it's been a while since we watched these, and also all of them were very notable. So I feel like we got the headlines out of the way.
Yeah, I'm looking at them, and let me just do a quick scan. Yeah, there's nothing really noticeable, because like what we predicted, the teams that we predicted kind of smoked them, and it was kind of an easy like week to predict games, because Titus went 11-5 and I went 12-4. So yeah, there's nothing. I think we went over all the games that was crucial. But
yeah,
Dallas lost. Fuck you.
Yeah, Sam Howell rumored to be the choice for starting quarterback next season, at least for game 1. Mm-hmm. They could obviously take someone in the draft. There's options. I think they'll linger towards like the middle of the 1st round or even middle of the 2nd round. So they can always trade up. There's a lot of things they can do, I think, in their position. But I think Sam Howell did show some life against the Cowboys defense that was playing full force, to what I believe. I wouldn't roll with Heineke. I wouldn't roll with Wentz. I would definitely bring in someone you're confident that could potentially replace Howell if the experiment doesn't work out, but I would still start with Howell next season and not feel too bad about it. I liked him out of North Carolina. He's all right.
Yeah, we can move on to the MVP race.
Yes, the MVP race is wrapped up. It's Patrick Mahomes. Simply, plain and simple. 2nd, I would have Joe Burrow. 3rd, Jalen Hurts. 4th, Josh Allen. Joe Burrow ended the season incredibly. Had he started the season a little bit better, I think he would have had a shot at maybe stealing more MVP votes from Mahomes. But at the end of the day, Mahomes just had a historic season, and it's just a wrap right there. Jalen Hurts, obviously, the rushing and passing dynamic was insane. Didn't have the same volume and scoring necessarily, but I still think that his touchdown to interception ratio ended like really solid, nearly 4. So still had over 100 passer rating, even more than Joe Burrow. So I think that's important. And then Josh Allen, just like he's a pure volume guy in my book, not necessarily the greatest in efficiency maybe, but at the end of the day, just like most of those snaps are going to be a Josh Allen play when it comes to the Bills, even when it comes to the rush game. So I think that's a really important distinguishment, which is why like I listed him in this top 4 despite not having a passer rating over 100. That's loud, Caleb. Come on. Then offensive player of the year, I have Justin Jefferson. Well, anytime you even like get close to the conversation of breaking Calvin Johnson's record, even if it ends pretty lame, I think it was back-to-back kind of shitters, honestly, to end the season. I think it was still like really important for him to get close, because we weren't really talking about Tyreek Hill except like 1 week after he had like, I don't know, it was like around 200 yards. And for a moment, we're like, oh, maybe. But it was still like earlier in the season. And then he started having some bad games because Tua started getting more inconsistent. And that was a wrap. And then also just the fact that it's Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins not necessarily amazing at spreading the ball, usually taking check downs rather than taking the big shots. So for Justin Jefferson to pop off with that and really elevate that offense was important. Whereas Tyreek Hill, even if he wasn't in the offense, they still would have been rolling with like Jalen Waddle. So I think it's important that is recognized, and that is why I have Justin Jefferson as the number 1 candidate for Offensive Player of the Year. And then my candidate for Defensive Player of the Year is still Nick Bosa. This is because of being the leader in sacks, QB hits, and pressures. Also tied second in tackles for loss. Just smoked. Smoked all the teams, honestly. Just every game is just like, you got to take care of Bosa, otherwise you're finished. But the nice thing about the 49ers defense, too, is that they don't necessarily depend on Bosa. They never really have. But because he's popped off to this extent, it's really managed them to like get themselves back in the games and also into the season in general, where they've had to rotate so many different starting quarterbacks. The consistency he's brought to the defense has been very important. 13 wins out of the 16 games he played, so it's telling. Yeah.
Side note, it's crazy because I was looking at like all the sack leaders, and I didn't know, I guess until the Giants game, that like Hassan Reddick had like 16 sacks, and I didn't know like Nick Bosa. Well, I guess I did because like of all the MVP races, but I didn't realize how close they were. But that was besides like the MVP race. But Nick Bosa is like having an incredible season.
Still going. Still in the playoffs. He will continue to be a factor as long as he doesn't get injured or something. He usually like has a couple of injuries per season where he's out a game or two. But regardless, he'll always bounce back. We know this. Also, we wanted to jump around to some of the earlier predictions that we had this season that we made like at the very beginning and just haven't touched back on since then. Maybe every now and then to see like a little bit of how wrong we were, but now we see the full extent of it. And overall, I did pretty well with the predictions of the AFC teams' final records and their seeds as well. I think I did pretty good there. Obviously, I had some really bad picks like the Colts and Broncos as division winners. We know where they stand now. But yeah, I think I did pretty good. There were some teams that were worrying me, like the Dolphins and Jets. They were looking to like go over my predicted records. Like they had really strong starts and then they started to flail towards the end, and so they came back down to the record I predicted. I think it was pretty cool. What do you see, Caleb?
Yeah, it's crazy how many teams that you predicted correctly. And I think we kind of like flip-flopped because last year I had like a few good predictions. But yeah, it's crazy how many like teams that you like predicted correctly. And now realizing it, I think I was making a hyperbole for some of the teams, including the Seahawks, in which you mentioned throughout the podcast the last few weeks.
You weren't the only one who said they were going to be the worst team in the league, though.
Yeah.
I've heard many media personalities say that. They thought the Seahawks would be the worst team in the league. So.
And yeah, Pete Carroll's a good coach. I just was not expecting Geno Smith to play that well because he's a 10-year vet. He's mostly known for being a backup and starting, I think, for the Jets a little bit, starting for a couple other teams for just a couple games to kind of as a bridge quarterback or just to back up someone who is injured. But that's like my biggest like thing that I see, at least on my side. And yeah, I was actually close to the Eagles prediction as well as I was 2 games off. I think I had my ceiling as like, I forget what I had my I wish I would have written it down, but I'm pretty sure that I had my ceiling at 14-3. But I had my bottom as 7-10, and I was like,
Damn.
But I was like, all right, let me just like, because usually when I start the Eagles like season, I always like, oh, we're gonna go like undefeated, or oh my god, we're going to go like 16-1 or whatever. Now, very few times has that actually come to this measurement, and I was like, all right, I usually start the season off like that. Let me be like a little bit like more modest. And I had them at 12-5, which I think is still like a good record, all things considering, with like all the new pieces. And yeah, they exceeded my expectation, thankfully, by 2 wins. But yeah, the Packers 12-5, Buccaneers 10-7, Cardinals was a bad one, 11-6. I wasn't too far off the Cowboys a couple games. Rams I was really off by. Vikings I was off by a lot. I had them going 9-8, but they ended up 13-4. Fuck the Vikings. But I guess those are like the notable ones. I had the Giants at 5-10, which they had a really good season this year. I was close to coming to the Bears. I predicted them going 5-12, and they ended up going to 3-14, a couple games off there.
I think they could have been 5-12 had they not just like tanked so many games. Like they started tanking real early, honestly.
Yeah, I'm happy for the most part, because I was like only a couple games off for most of these. But yeah, I thought I was gonna have more records predicted correctly, but Titus completely destroyed me in this. He just went off in predictions, which is crazy.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we can now talk about the wild card predictions. Every season, we predict not only the winner of every game, but the score of every playoff game, as well as some other sort of predictions that are kind of like, just little prop bets, I guess. But for the wild card round, since there's, 6 games, we just do whoever wins in the final score. We'll, start to flesh that out later once we get to the divisional round and then the conference and then the Super Bowl. But for now, we talk about the 49ers and the Seahawks.
And I know this is going to be really hard to do because most of these games already happen and the Buccaneers and Cowboys are playing tonight. But just pretend in a perfect world that you have not witnessed any of these outcomes, because this is our predictions that we had and we made on Friday. Titus made them earlier last week, but I made mine like midday Friday. So these predictions.
You actually made yours midday Saturday.
Midday Saturday?
Yeah, well, morning of the Saturday. Because I was like, make sure you do it before 4:30, because then it won't be legit.
My entire like time due to being on set was thrown off, and I thought for the longest time this past Saturday was Friday.
Yeah, no.
So
you're stupid.
I made it. You know what? I'm gonna quit. Leave. That's it. We were bickering before this fucking podcast. I want to leave.
It's true. We've been bickering.
Yeah,
we were.
Yeah, like an old married couple.
Don't say that.
Why?
I don't like it.
Find an old friendship.
Yeah.
He's screaming out there. Calm down. It's not that big of a deal that we're bickering. All right.
That sounded like I was in Egypt, and like the fruit salesman when they're like up really early, walking around and they're just yelling
at the wild dogs.
No, not the wild dogs. They're just yelling about their fruit and to come buy it.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
We're actually just been in Egypt this entire time. But just pretend that none of these happened, because I made mine Saturday morning. And so like all these predictions are legit, and we got like the timestamps of when we edited them in the Google like Drive too.
Okay, it's not gonna come to that. Like, come on,
dude. This is a million.
Are you gonna show the timestamps in the fucking video?
No, but if I have to come back, I'm just saying. Like we have an audience of millions of people watching this. We're legit. We're legit. All right.
Well, with the 49ers and the Seahawks, in the afternoon on Saturday. It was the first wild card game. We both predicted the 49ers, which came true.
No, you don't say that.
Why not?
Well,
Why? You don't want to go over it already? I mean, it happened. Everyone knows it happened.
well, yeah, but aren't we going to talk about it with the episode that we're going to do?
I mean, we can still talk about it. These
Okay.
can just both be condensed episodes since we're doing 2 in a week. That's the way I was looking at it.
Oh, I was looking at it where we would just like discuss why we like predicted them, and then.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to discuss the game much more outside of just saying that we were right.
Oh, okay.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say, like, why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We both. we both got
We're
the
both
first-
right. You were right about the 49ers being a very high-scoring offensive battle, and I wasn't so sure. I thought it'd be closer, like mid-20s, both teams. But no, you're pretty much on point with the points as far as, I mean, you were definitely right about the point differential at least. So you got that going for you.
Oh, I did. Wow. I was like trying to do quick maths, but yeah, I think that, or the reason why I had the Niners scoring so highly was due to the fact that, I don't know, I think the Niners wanted to prove something and wanted to show like kind of how offensively sound they are, and kind of this like juggernaut in which,
They are stacked.
yeah, I don't know, I just feel like they were trying to prove something from the regular season, because I feel like they were kind of, not that they were quiet, but I feel like they were kind of quiet in the sense that they won 10 in a row now, I believe.
10 in a row.
Yeah, I believe that they won. Wait. Yeah, I don't know if it's like 10 regular seasons games in a row, or this is like their 10th win in a row. Regardless, they won 10 in a row, 11th in a row, including this like playoff game. If that
No,
wasn't.
I'll confirm
Yeah.
this real quick,
But
because that's insane.
Yeah.
That's like the
Eagles.
no. No.
What?
It's like the Buccaneers the season they won, because they started
Yeah.
off a little poor, lost both of their games to the Saints,
Mm.
and then they got right back in it, had a huge run through the Super Bowl. So yeah, not the Eagles.
Well, I was just thinking because the Eagles like won like 9 or 10 in a row. Or
Yeah, but you
11
know,
in a row.
who hasn't done that?
He hasn't won 10 games in a row late in the season.
Well, a lot of teams, because usually the big runs are in the beginning.
I feel like that streak that the Niners have been. Oh, you fucking camera.
You got wrecked.
Shut up, you bitch.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's their 11th win. They haven't lost a game in 12 consecutive weeks.
That's insane. Oh, fuck. Okay. My wheel got tangled up on the charger, but yeah. So this is their 11th game in a row, and I feel like that's kind of been swept under the table.
Rug.
Oh, I got like a hiccup or something. I was drinking too fast, or moving up and down too fast. Drinking water, that is. Imagine this
Right.
was like pure vodka. Okay, that's just.
We can move on. Jaguars and Chargers. How about
What a comeback!
both of us getting the Chargers wrong?
Yeah.
Had too much faith in the Justin Herbert offense, keeping that win or the lead alive. And then Dougie P, what does he do? What does he do? What he always does.
Win, no matter what.
Win.
But we both projected the Chargers. Did we say the score of the Niners game? The what we projected?
I mean, doesn't it show?
What do you mean?
You have the graphic up, right?
I don't usually put the graphics up.
Why?
I usually put it on the later hand so that they don't get like spoiled about what we predicted.
Can't you do the crop thing?
Yeah, but that's too much type. I'm just too lazy to do that.
All right, fine. I said 24-20. You said 38-20.
Yeah, there you go.
49ers, both of us. But for the Chargers, I said 27-30.
And I said 21-20 Chargers.
Yeah, I should have said 30-27 because that's usually how you say it. Larger score first. But both of us were wrong. I was right about the Chargers scoring 30 at least. Keeping it a higher scoring game overall. Yeah, I was actually, I don't know why. I forget why because it has been some time. I know why I chose the Chargers to score a lot. And that's because I feel like their offense has actually been improving late season. since the Colts game. So like last 3-4 weeks really. Whereas the Jaguars, I know they've been on a run, but I didn't expect much out of them, honestly. I thought the Chargers would just get the win and move on, but Jaguars proved me wrong.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks where I projected the point differential to be correct. Because I guess I got it.
No, you can't say that because it was the other way around. You said it would be +1 Chargers. It was -1 Chargers.
I guess that's true.
But I understand what you're saying.
I was just
as
thinking,
far as it being close in general, like
yeah.
a 1-point game, you were right.
Yeah. I guess I was just like thinking in general too. Like the general like point differential. But yeah.
No, but that's like, think about it like, oh, I think it's going to be 48-7 Saints versus Bucks, and then it's like 48-7 Bucks win, and then someone's like, well, at least I got that right. It's like, well, did you? Did you really?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I mean. But we'll give you that because it is very close. It could have gone either way, is what you're saying, and it did. It went one way rather than the other.
Yeah, and the reasoning why I chose the Chargers was because of the offense, kind of like what you were saying. I just thought that Eckler, Keenan Allen, and Herbert would go off, and it just highlights the crucialness of Williams. Yeah, Mike Williams. I'm getting confused with like Williamson players in this league and Williams.
There's a lot of Williams in this world,
but Mike Williams.
Each one of them are dicks.
Yeah, we hate every one of the Williams. First name and last name Williams.
Oh, that's true. It is a first name as well. I forget about that.
My uncle's name's Williams.
Speaking of Williams, the Bills.
I was not done explaining.
Oh, come on. That would have been a great transition. That would have been so good.
All right, fine.
Speaking of Williams, the Bills won Sunday afternoon against the Dolphins, and we both got that right. I would say you were closer as far as score was because it was higher scoring. You said 30-24. I said 28-21, but neither of us were close enough to get any points out of it. Yeah, we were both like too far off, just enough off because. Yeah, if we were only 3 points off, we would have gotten points. That's how it works. I had to remind myself of the point system real quick. I don't think I said it, so I'll say it right now. 5 points if you get the actual box score right per team. It doesn't have to be both teams, just one team. 3 points if it's only 1 point off, and then 1 point if the score is 2-3 off. That's the scoring system. Now that you know, because that doesn't actually get shown on the graphics. It's in the notes part of the sheet. So yeah, why did you think the Bills were just going to take this one, plain and simple? What was going in your head?
Because Skylar Thompson is playing for the Miami Dolphins, and I just didn't think that he could pull it off. I think
pretty simple, honestly.
I think Tyreek Hill had to carry in this game in order for them to win, and he had 7 receptions, 69 yards, but he did not prevail as I thought he would. But I also was thinking of. The reason why I had it close was because of the Dolphins' defense.
True.
And of Josh Allen's turnover rate.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? That defense.
Messy.
Plus Allen, not a good mixture.
Josh Allen actually hadn't been a turnover machine in the playoffs. In fact, it was his first ever interception in the playoffs. It's true. And he had 2 of them, as well as a forced fumble that went into a touchdown, I'm pretty sure. The Bills were 14-point favorites if you're a Vegas bettor. And I will give us the credit of saying that it would stay within a one possession margin. And it was only 3 points because the Dolphins had a lot going on defensively, but because of the volume that Bills offense has, you can take the ball away from him as much as possible, but he'll always bounce back and score. That's just how it goes. At some point, you just have to show some consistency on defense or have a shootout. And more likely than not, it's going to come down to a shootout, especially into these upcoming games as well. They're going to be, whoo! This divisional round is going to be crazy.
Juicy to say the least.
Say the least. Say it.
Say the least.
The least.
And I didn't know that Josh Allen has already been in 6 playoff games.
Yeah, he beat the Colts. He beat Phillip Rivers, put him into retirement.
Bills.
Also, only by a field goal, by the way. It was that close. No one wants to remember that. Whatever. I'm not mad.
But yeah, he's 3-3 in the playoffs, which I still for some reason think he's like only a second-year guy, but he's been in the league for such a long time.
This is fourth.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like he's like so much younger than he is. I guess fourth is still like really young in this league, but I don't know. I feel like he's just coming off of his like second year, third year.
Yeah.
Just seems like yesterday I was watching him on the big screen getting picked by the Buffalo Bills. That's all I got to say about the...
Now it's time to talk about the Vikings and the Giants. You know why? Because both of those teams, to Caleb's surprise, made the playoffs. He did not predict that.
Yeah, and fuck the Vikes. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, we both said Giants. We both had it lower scoring, and it wasn't. Vikings actually put up a good amount of points. Giants respectable, about average as well. I even said like 16 for the Vikings, 17 for the Giants. It did come down to just one possession. Wait, I put it in the wrong order.
You stupid boy.
You also said by within one possession. You said 23 for the Giants, 20 for the Vikings. So, you know, I think we're doing well overall. Like maybe we're not getting the points in this game, but I think like we have the right idea of what's happening aside from like maybe the Chargers game, you know?
The reason why I got the Giants was because of Saquon Barkley and the new Josh Allen and Daniel Jones.
That's what I've been saying all year. No one wants to listen.
Yeah, I just saw the Giants winning because like the Vikings are fake. What was the one statistic that you told me a while ago?
Oh, this
like
was the first.
yesterday?
This was their first loss all season, where the final margin came down to one possession.
That's crazy. At one point, I think I saw them at like 1-14 in one possession games if it went like the other way, which is absurd. But yeah, that I was just like, that's not sustainable. Like that, the statistic that you just said is not like sustainable if you in the playoffs. Like you're bound to not be this lucky, you know.
However, on the bright side, I know like a lot of people say this is loser's mentality to like think on the bright side after a playoff loss when your season's ended, but I say fuck you guys, get over it. Like it's a terrible thing to say. Like just be happy. Let yourself be happy. I don't know.
Don't worry.
Don't dwell. It's dumb. What good does that really do?
Be happy.
Thank you, Caleb. On the bright side, that coach is still a first-year coach, has a lot to learn. I actually think it's a good idea that first-year coach doesn't immediately get a new quarterback because there's just so many other things for a coach to worry about in general, not trying to develop the future franchise quarterback at the same time is actually a good thing in my opinion. So the fact that this Vikings team is looking this good with just Kirk Cousins, to me is like a really bright spot, and I think Justin Jefferson can sustain this production for a very long time. Offensive line's decent, you know, you brought in Hawkinson, he can be a good tight end for a while, and then on the defensive side there's some good pieces there. Obviously there's some veterans that aren't going to stick around for much longer, such as Peterson, but overall I think good job. That's all I gotta say. I think you shouldn't think about this as like a season that was wasted, you know. Divisional winner. You're not going to get a lot of those, especially in the same division as the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. So
I agree.
That's how I feel.
Moving on to a game that we actually do not know the outcome for. Buccaneers versus Cowboys at the Buccaneers Stadium.
No, you missed one.
Oh, the Bengals. I was JKing. That was a real-life JK.
That was a real-life JK. The Bengals and the Ravens played. Bengals with Joe Burrow. Ravens, Tyler Huntley.
Not with Joe Burrow.
And we talked about this earlier in the podcast, but it was very close. Huntley managed, all right. I think overall it was just a goal line fumble, which could happen to anyone. I mean, when you're that close to the goal line, you don't really think about ball security. You just think about getting it over the line. We see a lot of people even do that, even with one hand. He had two hands on the ball, all right? It's an anomaly at best. And I don't put a lot of blame onto him. In fact, I would agree with the executives in the league that actually think he's starter worthy on another team or even on the Ravens if Lamar Jackson ends up leaving in free agency, because, you know, the only option for the Ravens at this point is to use the 5th-year option or extend him, which they haven't shown that they really want to do yet because they can't come to terms on that. So yeah, it's tricky out here. Bengals still look very good. Ravens defense has always been amazing, and I think the Bengals managed to do exactly what they needed to do under these conditions. Would like to see a little bit more pep in the step for the offense, but that will come. I think in the more shootout type games, we're going to see that. So such as against the Bills next week.
So I predicted the Bengals destroying the Ravens 28-3. Titus predicted them to have 35-13, but
pretty similar overall.
Yeah, we both had them destroying them by a pretty good margin, and yeah, Ravens held their own.
Yeah, I was off the Ravens score by 4, and you're off of the Bengals score by 4. Neither of us gets points for that, but now we can actually talk about the game that we don't know is going to happen, so this feels a little bit more legitimate to go over, and it's how our first dispute is going to come about as well, because we agreed on all the other winners of the other games. But I say the Cowboys are going to beat the Bucks just because I don't really have a lot of faith in Tom Brady's Bucks right now. Obviously, the Mike Evans connection is still growing, but everywhere else on the field, I don't feel is as tight. So, yeah, we also have very different scores. Same differential in general, but very, very different types of games that we could be witnessing here.
I'm going to treat this as though it already happened, and that my score is correct. So, wow, that was a great performance by Tom Brady. I can't believe
the 17 points you predicted. That's great.
Yeah, I can't believe the Bucks won 17-14. And I can't. Did you see that play that Tom Brady threw to the
just one player,
Evans?
There you
go. That was so good. And did you see the front flip that Fournette did into the end zone? Wow, that was so cool. Such a controversial thing that Dak said afterwards about the game. I can't believe that he said that. Wow.
All right.
Okay, but
now it's my turn.
Yeah.
Cowboys being the Eagles in the NFC Championship. I say here, listen, they demolished a great Buccaneers defense, all right? I don't care if the Cowboys defense also took a hit, but in games like these, it's the dub that matters, baby. Go Cowboys. I just think it's going to be the Cowboys because they just had the better season overall. It's only going to be by 3. I don't really have a lot of faith in the Cowboys long term, but I'm predicting a fun one. I think it'll be a fun game to watch for those of you at home that have nothing to do on a Monday night in January.
January 16th to be specific.
2023.
To be even more specific. But yeah, you know what? This is my hottest take of this wildcard weekend, and might be even the hottest take this entire year because, one, I got the Bucks winning, which is an upset amongst the Cowboys because the Cowboys went 12-4 this year, 13-4, 12-5. They went 12-5 this year. Buccaneers made it to the playoffs at 8-9. Were they 8-9 or 9-8? Regardless, it was a mediocre season by Tom Brady and the Bucks, and yeah, that is why it's my hottest take. It's an upset, and my points. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game for whatever reason. I was like, my gut is probably telling me otherwise, that this is going to be at least a 65-point performance, but I'm like, why not it be a 17-14 kind of game? I feel like that's even more possible.
Thank you, Caleb.
You're welcome.
That was amazing.
Yeah, where's my money now?
You pay yourself. This is your channel. Ooh, interesting.
What?
Viking superstar wide receiver Justin Jefferson on a potential extension from Minnesota via ESPN. I mean, I will be wherever I'm wanted. If they want me here, I'm here. Doesn't sound very enthusiastic that he wants to stay, but reluctant. At least that's something.
Wait, is Deshaun Jackson still on the Ravens? Do you know that?
Probably.
All right, cool. And But I think that's all we got to say. Let's talk about fantasy, why don't we? For a little bit. Because we didn't get to since we...
Go ahead.
I won. I said it earlier this podcast, but I won. I finally won. I did it, boys. I did it for you guys. Yeah. You can just call me the GOAT. Probably best I ever did it. Best regular season record off by 2. I mean,
I'm still the only one to have 2 championship. No, wait, that's wrong. You and I are the only people that have 2 championship appearances.
mm-hmm.
But at least I was in the playoffs the other year.
What? You can never be satisfied with my win. He's been a salty
No.
bitch.
You can have your win, but you said you're the GOAT. This we know is not true.
Yeah. But it is. It's okay.
I think I'm the only player actually. Now that I think about it, to be in the playoffs all 3 years. Because
Yeah.
Brendan missed.
Yeah.
Fucked.
But yeah, the season ended. Titus ended in 4th place. Good job.
I couldn't have just gotten all of the medals. I couldn't have gotten gold, silver, and bronze. It had to be fucking 4th.
Yeah, because you suck at fantasy.
It's true. I mean, I was balancing
okay.
more fantasy leagues than I ever had before, so I'll blame that. That's what I'll blame it on.
I got 2nd in my other fantasy league.
I started
pretty good.
Dynasty. That shit is a headache. Especially your first year. Oh my god. So much to keep up with.
Fantasy is a wonder to culture.
I'm done. I don't want to talk anymore.
Particularly to football culture. But yeah, I am also done. You're giving me a headache. I just want to continue the bickering like you started it earlier today.
I didn't start
Before
it.
the
I
podcast
finished it.
Yeah, bitch, I finished it.
As you restart it and take pride in restarting it.
Look into this Allie's eyes and tell me that
Owlies?
I don't even know.
Owlies?
Alright. Bye.
I don't want to talk anymore.
Thank you.